Football is a surprising game. It just never operates at a particular pace. One moment, you'll be the manager of the best side on the planet, and the next day, you get booed by the same people who put you on a pedestal. It's not easy to be a manager of a football club. It's an even more frightening scenario if you end up becoming the manager of a club that always has high expectations. Now, consider this scenario. You join a football club where the ownership is willing to give you crazy amounts of money to make the team more competitive. From a distance, it seems that you're in a great place where you have people who value your input. But if you think things through, such trust comes with a cost. You're expected to come good. The players that you bring to the side are your responsibility, and their performances will have an impact on your future. If these players perform well, you'll be called a genius, but if things don't work out, you become a laughingstock of the footballing community, with your memes making rounds on social media. That's exactly what happened to Frank Lampard, who returned to Chelsea as a manager. The Englishman steadied the ship, and the academy players did incredibly well. And then, last summer, Roman Abramovich decided to back his former player and gave him a lot of funds to go for a spending spree that kind of resembled a similar spending spree that saw the arrival of Didier Drogba, Claude Makélélé, Arjen Robben, and others at the club. That was when Abramovich had just bought the club, and we all thought that Lampard would really tick all the boxes and that the Blues would challenge for the league title for sure. Unfortunately, things didn't work out, with summer signings struggling. In particular, Timo Werner had become the butt of many jokes, with the German struggling to replicate the form that made him one of the most lethal frontmen in Europe. Eventually, Frank Lampard was relieved of his duties, with Chelsea languishing in the mid-table and not even close to being considered dark horses in the Champions League. And then, something happened. Now, before we unravel the entire thing, go ahead and subscribe to our channel and keep the notifications on, because some really interesting things are happening in the world of football right now, and you don't really want to miss out on anything. So, what happened then? Chelsea decided to be cutthroat and brought on Thomas Tuchel, who'd been recently fired by Paris Saint-Germain. Now, the German tactician helped PSG reach the final of the Champions League last season. In fact, the former Mainz and Borussia Dortmund boss has always been considered one of the best managers out there. We all knew that in Tuchel, Chelsea had finally found a manager who would make their defence less porous. On top of that, Chelsea were expected to be a free-scoring side under Tuchel, since the teams he has managed in his career do tend to score a lot. A few months later, Chelsea ended up lifting the Champions League title at the expense of a Manchester City side that were destined for European success. It only took Tuchel 4 months to successfully pursue a trophy that Guardiola had been obsessing over for the last 6 years. That goes to show why Tuchel's name should be breathed with the same reverence as that of the Spaniard. In 4 months since he inherited the team from Lampard, Tuchel turned things around and got the better of City on 3 occasions. When he met Abramovich for the first time, Tuchel was given an 18-month contract, a small duration since it doesn't happen a lot. However, Tuchel is definitely deserving of a better deal based on what he's achieved in what feels like a fortnight. It was Abramovich's decision to axe Lampard, a club legend, a fan favourite, mid-season. Lampard had left the team in 9th, 3 weeks after being humbled by Guardiola, conceding 3 goals in the first 34 minutes. But it isn't the first time that the Russian billionaire has made such a call. Way back in 2012, Andre Villas-Boas was sacked in similar circumstances and replaced with Roberto Di Matteo. Interestingly, the Italian tactician ended up being the first manager to win the Champions League in an interim role. The manner in which Tuchel was disposed of by PSG was shocking to say the least. He was replaced by Mauricio Pochettino, who failed to defend the Ligue 1 crown and didn't make much headway in Europe either. The German had the last laugh for sure. Tuchel had won an impressive 8 league games on the trot earlier in PSG's season, and when he arrived at Chelsea, he started in similarly stunning fashion. Unbeaten in his first 10 league games and 13 games in all comps, he immediately set a new club record. So, how did he transform a once struggling side into a European giant? The first thing Tuchel did was to change the team's formation that would cater to the ball-playing abilities of Ben Chilwell and Reece James. No surprise that those two played a starring role in the final. Under Tuchel, Chilwell's performances have reached another level. Antonio Rudiger's future at Stamford Bridge was under a bit of a cloud. The German wasn't being used by Frank Lampard much, but became an integral member of the backline alongside Cesar Azpilicueta. These two formed a great partnership with Thiago Silva and brought in some much-needed stability and leadership to the backline. Rudiger's renaissance was completed in the final when he blocked a goal-bound Phil Foden shot. Had that gone in, things might have turned out differently in Portugal. The formation also placed great responsibility on N'Golo Kante, a responsibility which the smiling Frenchman took in his stride. Kante won Man of the Match honours in the victory, dominating the middle of the park and tearing Guardiola's experimental midfield lineup with no defensive midfielder linchpin to shreds. For good measure, Kante also claimed Man of the Match award in the Champions League round of 16 second leg, the semi-final first leg and the semi-final second leg. The Frenchman's importance to Tuchel's tactics can't be understated. He's the link between defence and attack and constantly keeps Jorginho busy. Not only that, he's always willing to support attacks and gives his team a numerical advantage. But one thing's for sure, Chelsea's transformation is not down to any individual. In fact, it is Tuchel's ability to use the resources he has at his disposal. Every member of the squad has been used by the German, and in his first 10 Premier League games, the wily tactician made 39 changes. Kai Havertz's performances were a bit frustrating, but Tuchel stayed patient. Eventually, the young forward came good and ended up scoring the most important goal of the season for his side. He truly justified his transfer fee, and we hope that no one is ever going to talk about that too obsessively. His scorching reply: "To be honest right now, I do not give a f***. We won the f***ing Champions League." With a Champions League medal hanging around his neck, the 21-year-old, who not only scored the goal, but put in a great shift. The former Bayer Leverkusen man has shown great mental toughness, and we expect him to be a huge player in the coming months. Tuchel clearly has Guardiola's number, and we might have to wait a little bit longer to anoint the Spaniard as the greatest manager of his generation. Now the former Barcelona manager has to go back to the drawing board and think about the mistakes he made on that fateful night. Tuchel turned a vulnerable Chelsea side into the best defence in Europe, as the Blues have kept 19 clean sheets in the Germans' 30 games in the dugout. Having signed a deal that runs until 2022, the Blues are planning to reward Tuchel by handing him a contract extension to 2023, as it took him just a few months to transform Chelsea into a winning machine and lead them to their second Champions League trophy. Chelsea might not have it easy next season. The likes of Manchester City, Liverpool and Manchester United are expected to come out strong. However, we can say for sure that the Blues will more than just hold their own. They're no longer a team that can be scored against easily. We're pretty certain that Tuchel will be given funds to bring in a few new faces, and he can expect those players to be the ones who are going to make the team better, rather than just be good additions to the bench. But regardless of who comes in, Thomas Tuchel has already inserted his name into Chelsea's history, and nothing is ever going to change that. So, this was our analysis on how Tuchel transformed Chelsea into champions. Let us know what you think Tuchel changed at the club. Make sure to subscribe to our channel, because in the upcoming days, we're going to cover tons of stuff. Zinedine Zidane has left Real Madrid, and before leaving, he had a lot to say about Florentino Perez, who he believes didn't back him this season. The Frenchman normally doesn't lash out, so we'll be discussing this story in the coming days. Not only that, we also need to talk about Cristiano Ronaldo's future and how he's been linked with Manchester United. Do you think that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer should go for a player who definitely doesn't represent the club's future? Brentford have returned to top-tier English football after more than 7 decades. And we want to tell you how the Bees managed to do something that a club with limited resources is usually unlikely to do. Plus, we need to talk about how Sergio Aguero's move to Barcelona is going to impact the Spanish Giants. In the coming days, we're also going to discuss the upcoming European Championship, so stay tuned, since we've got quite a few burning discussions heading your way.